Hi, it's me, Rachel Ann, and today's Tip Tuesday is all about sinking funds. I keep seeing a lot of back and forth about how to approach sinking funds, and I just kind of wanted to give my 2 cents. So first of all, what are sinking funds? A sinking fund is basically a savings for things that you know are going to come up. So I follow Dave Ramsey's baby steps for getting out of debt. Not completely to a T do I follow them, but I do follow the general outline of his baby steps. So real quick, here are Dave's baby steps. Number 1 is save $1,000 in an emergency fund. Step 2 is to pay off all debts in order from smallest to largest, regardless of interest rate. Step 3 is to take your baby emergency fund and fully fund it into 3 to 6 months of expenses. Step 4 is to invest 15% of your income into some kind of retirement. Step 5 is to pay for kids' college and fund that. And then step 6 is to pay off your house early. And then steps 4, 5, and 6 are actually supposed to be done simultaneously, all at the same time. And then step 7 is build wealth and give. So your emergency fund that you save, both baby step 1 and 3, the emergency fund is for any kind of emergency. Anything that you just don't see it coming. We all know that things are going to happen. We all know that something's going to come up that was not expected. And so that's what your emergency fund is. It's for things that come up that you didn't see coming. A sinking fund is knowing that something is going to come up and saving for it in advance. Sinking funds typically have a set amount that you're trying to reach for one particular thing, and then it usually has a date range as far as, okay, I want to save this much money by this date. Probably the most popular sinking fund is the Christmas sinking fund because, Christmas comes around every year. You know it's coming. It's not an emergency. It doesn't just spring up on you and pop out and say, Merry Christmas! Although sometimes it feels like that, especially when they start saying Merry Christmas in like October. But it's not an emergency. It's not a surprise. You know it's coming. So a sinking fund is a way to plan for it. So if you know that you want to spend about $500 on Christmas this year, then what you do is you start saving in January, maybe even in December, like I start saving in December so that by the end of November, I have all the money that I planned to spend for Christmas is ready to go so that I can go ahead and buy Christmas presents early in November. If you're wanting to spend $500 on Christmas this year, then you're going to save about $40 to $45 a month. That way, when Christmas comes and the date is there, you know it's coming, you know what you're going to spend, the money is there when you need it. But I hear a lot of back and forth on when sinking funds should begin. Do they begin before step 1? Do they begin in baby step 1? Do they begin in step 2? Do you wait until step 3 or even step 4 to start sinking funds? I have heard a lot of debate about this recently, and I have heard people saying that you shouldn't have any sinking funds until you're on step 4. I've heard people saying that you should have sinking funds when you're in step 1. I am here to weigh in. I say that if you can get baby step 1 done within, 1 to 2 months, then you should go ahead and start sinking funds now. If it's going to take you a while to get baby step 1 done, I feel like you should maybe wait until baby step 1 is done and then kind of start some sinking funds while you're trying to pay off debt. But if it's going to take you that long to get step 1 done and get your $1,000 emergency fund saved up, then I feel like that is the most pressing thing because emergencies are much more important than things like Christmas. Now, when starting sinking funds, there are some things to keep in mind. You don't want to have a sinking fund for every little thing that you know is coming up. That's basically called a budget. So what you're doing is you're saving for future expenses that are too much to pay for in 1 month. You're saving for expenses that are going to ruin your budget for this month if it comes up. So you don't want to go too crazy. You don't want to have too many sinking funds. You don't want to put too much money towards your sinking funds. You want just the right amount of sinking funds, just the right amount of money going to each one. Unfortunately, everybody is different, every situation is different, and the only way that you're going to know is just experience. Just try something this month. If it works, keep doing it. If you feel like it's too much money, lower the amount that you're putting in your sinking funds. If you feel like it's not enough money, put more in your sinking funds if you can and it doesn't take too much away from debt. But also think about this. Are there sinking funds that can be combined into one? I recently did this. It took me about a year to finally figure out that I had too many sinking funds, too many little bits of money, taking $100 here, $100 there, $100 there. And I had like $600 tied up in sinking funds when I really just needed one sinking fund for $100. Just a miscellaneous sinking fund, that's all I needed. Because those little things that are like $100 that come up throughout the year, it only happens once a year, and these things are like they never come around at the same time. Some of my major sinking funds that I have are my car insurance sinking fund. Now I save about $70 to $80 by paying my car insurance 6 months in advance. I feel like this is well worth that saving for a short time every 6 months to pay for my car insurance in full so that I get this really great discount. That is saving me more than $10 a month that I would be paying if I was paying monthly. Another one of my sinking funds is for Christmas, like I mentioned before. I actually save about $400 for Christmas because I have a small family and I don't buy a whole lot of things for my friends. I try to keep it simple. I even have some friends that we have prearranged not to spend money on each other because we both are trying to budget really well, and so we don't spend money on each other and it saves us money that way. I also have a laptop sinking fund. This is one that some people might argue with me on, but I know that my laptop is going to be going out at some point. It is getting stubborn. It takes forever to come on. It takes forever for me to open things, and it gets overheated very easily. My computer is almost 6 years old, so I mean it's getting pretty old for a laptop. It works very, very hard. I continue to cross my fingers and pray that it keeps working, but I know that it's going to go out and it could be any moment. And instead of using my emergency fund for something that I know is about to happen, I have a sinking fund ready to cover that cost so that the emergency doesn't happen. I also have a car repair fund. My car is actually 10 years old this year. It's not running the same as it used to when I first got it, and it just recently had a major repair, and I know that there will be more repairs coming as it gets older and older. And so I am saving up, not just for the repairs, but I am also continuing to save just in case I need to buy a new car. I know that for me and the amount of driving that I do, using $1,000 emergency fund to purchase a car for cash is not going to work for me. So I need that repair and replacement fund there just in case something happens to my car. Hopefully by the time something really bad happens and I need to get a new car, I will have at least, a couple of $1,000s in that sinking fund. I can add that with my emergency fund and get more like a $3,000 or $4,000 car, maybe even a little bit more if my car continues to last, like I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that it will. But hopefully I can get a slightly better car, pay in cash. I don't want to worry about spending my emergency fund, about having an extremely cheap car that is going to do nothing but break and break and break and not work very well. I want to be able to get something a little bit better, but I'm not going to get like my dream car. It's just something that will last me another couple of years until I can save up for a better, nicer, newer car. I didn't say new, I said newer car. I also have a couple of other sinking funds, one of which is a clothing fund rather than a budgeting allocation. The sinking fund just kind of keeps me under control and I can save up to buy a bunch of things all at once rather than like, well, I didn't spend $25 this month and I lose out on that money that goes to debt and I can't spend it on clothes. So I've created a sinking fund for that. And then of course I have the miscellaneous sinking fund that is just for little things that I know will be coming up. I know exactly what they are. I could name them, but I do like having a miscellaneous fund in there just to cover all those little things. So I'm putting in my 2 cents on sinking funds. I hope that if you didn't know what they are, I was able to clear some things up. I hope that you understand that sinking funds are really important to start as soon as possible, just because they can actually save you money, like my car insurance does. But it can also help you feel better about things that are coming up And it can make you feel better about spending when the time comes when you need to spend. You need to be okay with spending. I think that sinking funds are part of a good financial plan that help you stay out of debt even before you start paying off debt. So let me know in the comments below, do you use sinking funds? If so, what are some of the categories that you use? If you don't use sinking funds, if you have any questions about them, leave them down in the comments below. I will try to answer any of the questions that you have about sinking funds. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you are not already. I make videos about getting out of my student loan debt and losing some weight along the way. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.